Hi, you're highly welcome to this YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome once again. Please look below this video and hit on the subscribe button, and also click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. In this video, we will be making this beautiful underbust corset, which also serves as a waist cincher corset. It can be used as part of fashion. It can be used for waist training and also for new moms who wants to tuck in their tummy, work on their tummy. You can also make use of this for your postpartum bellies. It is also a great tool to, it helps with waist and belly training. So if this is something you're interested in, do well and keep watching, and also do not touch that dial. You will be needing a fabric and a lining for this underbust corset. I'll be making use of this Mikado silk, which is about 1.5 yards, and I'll be using this as my fabric and lining because I want to use this underbust corset more specifically for waist training. So I definitely want this corset to stand the test of time. And of course, Mikado silk is quite tough and strong kind of. So you can also choose to use 2 different fabrics, Ankaras, to get a reversible corset, even a mesh fabric to spice up the beauty of your underbust corset or waist cincher. Just be creative. Also, you'll be needing a boning. I love making use of plastic boning or doing a double boning because of the extreme fairness I can get. So in summary, I'll be making use of this plastic boning as my boning. But if you're making the underbust corset just only for fashion, you can go ahead and use the sewable regularly boning. But if it is to package your tummy and all of that, use this plastic or use a double boning. I would have loved to just go straight to drafting the underbust corset, but for easier understanding and to avoid any form of confusion, we will be drafting out our full scale basic bodice block first, for easier understanding like I earlier stated. So firstly, you would want to mark out the length of your full scale basic bodice. So for me, I'm marking 26 inches. Then I added 1 inch for aiming allowance, making it 27 inches in total that I'm marking out for my full scale basic bodice. That is from my shoulder to the length I want the top to stop, or the underbust corset to stop. You grab. So this would be my top length. So next, after doing this, you would want to divide your shoulder measurement by 2. So my shoulder measurement divided by 2 gives me 7 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark that out. Although this is not really important for this underbust corset drafting, but just for us to understand the foundation and everything that has to do with it. So I'll just come down by 1 inch to draw my shoulder slope or slant, and I'll go ahead and slant it upward like this. Then after doing this, I'll just mark out my neck width. Just do the normal 3 by 3 inches neck width and neck depth. Then I'll connect. If you do not know how to draft a basic bodice, not to worry, I made a detailed video on that, so you can go ahead and watch it. But if you already know how to draft it, no problem. This is just for you to understand how to come about, or how the underbust corset came about. So next, we'll mark out the armhole depth. To get your armhole depth, divide your round bust measurement by 6, then plus 1.5 inches. So for me, I have 8 inches, and I'm going to connect this to the shoulder slope like this. So after doing this, at this point, I'll divide my round bust measurement by 4 and mark it at this point. So round bust measurement divided by 4 gave me 9.75, which I'll go ahead and mark out here like this. So I'll go ahead and connect this to my armhole depth like so. Now after doing this, I'll just go ahead and draw out my armhole curve. Like I earlier stated, all this is not important for the underbust corset, but I just want you to get the full picture, and so you don't get confused while we are drafting out the underbust corset, so that it's way easier. You grab. So I'll just find the midpoint of this armhole depth, and then I'll come in by 1/2 inch. So I'll go ahead and come in by 1/2 inch to get the armhole curve. like so. And then I'll connect this point to this point and to this point. So you can use your free hand or you can use your curve rule, whichever you can make use of at that point in time. So I'll just go ahead and curve it like so. And after doing this, this is my front armhole curve. This is not important. So you can either extend this line or not, but since this is not important for this underbust corset tutorial, then there is no need for that. So I'll just go ahead and mark out my bust point, which is 10.75. That is from your shoulder to your nipple is called your bust point. So you go ahead and mark it out, then you just roll it. If you fully understand the basic of drafting a full scale basic bodice, then I think you can, just watch, and probably when we get to drafting the underbust corset, you tag along with us, or you can also follow through so that you understand the whole concept. So next, to mark out from the shoulder to the underbust. So for me, I have 14.75. So I'll go ahead and mark it out. That is from your shoulder to underneath the bust. So this is just me drafting out the normal full scale basic bodice. Yeah, that's what I'm just doing right now, so we understand the whole concept you get. So this is my underbust line. Then next, I'll just go ahead and mark out my waistline. So from my underbust to my waistline is 3 inches, and that is a standard number. So if you're working with someone that has a very big tummy or a fupa, yeah, that's a big tummy, go ahead and measure from the shoulder to the navel and mark it out, and that line is called the natural waistline. For me, I don't have a big tummy, so there's no need of me measuring from my shoulder to my navel, you get. But if you work making this underbust corset for someone with a bigger tummy, with a fupa, go ahead and mark out from the shoulder, measure from the shoulder to the navel and mark it out and indicate it as the natural waist, NW. I hope you understand. So next, you divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2 and mark it out. So my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 is 4, which I have marked out on my bust point, on my underbust line, on my waistline, and also from my hip line. I'll go up by 2 inches like this. So this is just me drawing out the normal dart. So I'll just put the 4 inches there, and then I'll bring in my rule and connect the dots to form a straight line. So this is just me drawing the normal dart line. Yeah, so this is just it. So I'll just connect. So after connecting, the next thing I would want to do is come out on both sides of my waistline with half an inch, meaning half an inch on the right side, half an inch on the left side, and I will connect like so to the bust point. So I'll connect it to the bust point like so, and I'll also do the same thing on the other side like this, and I will also connect it downward like so. That way it's like I'm having 2 triangles lying on top of each other. Right, so that's just the picture. So this is your normal darts for your normal full scale basic bodice. So that's just it. So after doing this, the next step is to go ahead and start dividing your round body measurement by 4 and marking it out. So we already divided the bust. I already divided the bust by 4, which I used to get the armhole curve. So I'll just go ahead and add 2 inches. So you can add 1 inch depending on how many inches you want to add, but I advise you add 2 inches for your underbust corset. You had 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So I will be adding 2 inches for my sewing allowance. Yeah, that's what I'll be using for this underbust corset sewing allowance. So on the underbust line, I'll go ahead and divide my round underbust measurement by 4 and also add 2 inches for sewing allowance. Then I'll measure this my dart intake, that is in between this these dart lines or dart legs. Yeah, I'll measure it. So I have about 0.625, and I'm going to go ahead and put it back here. Yes, you have to put it back so your pattern is complete. On your waistline, go ahead and also divide your round waist measurement by 4, mark it out, add your 2 inches for sewing allowance, and put back the dart intake. Now on the top length, you divide your round hip measurement by 4 and mark it out, and also add 2 inches for sewing allowance. Now if you marked out the natural waist, all you have to do is exactly the same measurement that was done that was taken on the waistline should be the same measurement that you put on the natural waist. So that is just it. Go ahead and connect. If you do not understand any part you do not understand, just let me know in the comment section and I'll try as much as possible to respond to you. So I have connected like so, and I'll just go ahead and extend this line. Now I'll go ahead and cut out this pattern, and this is me cutting out the pattern. So if you've been watching my video by now, you should know how to draft a full scale basic bodice. But if you still do not know how, do not worry. I'll just drop the link to the description box where I explained extensively on how to draft a full scale basic bodice. I'm just being fast here because we have a long way to go. You know, we have to draft out our underbust corset from here, so I just have to be fast about this, so please bear with me. So this is the front pattern. I'll just go ahead and indicate here the front pattern, so indicate on yours too so you don't get confused. Now we'll bring in a new piece of pattern paper or newspaper or cardboard paper. You can use anyone to draft. It must not necessarily be a pattern paper. So you go ahead and also mark out the length you marked at the front. So remember, for mine I marked out 26 inches and I added 1 inch for aiming allowance, making it 27 inches. So that's the same thing I'm also doing on this back pattern as well. So I'll just go ahead and extend the lines like this, and this line is my top length. You can also refer to it as your hip length so that you remember that, okay, on this top length you are dividing your round hip measurement by 4. You get. So you go ahead and divide your shoulder by 2 and mark it out, then come down by 1 inch, and then you slant it up to get your shoulder slope or slant. So that's just it. And then just do your regular neckline. All this does not matter. They do not matter for this underbust corset, but let's just follow due protocol. So I'll just use 3 by 1, which is the regular back neckline. So 1 inch for the neck depth, and I'll go ahead and connect this to the neck width like so. Now after doing this, I'll go ahead and mark out my armhole depth, and I'll connect to the slope or shoulder slant. I'll just go ahead and straighten this out, and then next step is to go ahead and divide my round bust measurement by 4 and mark it out and connect to the armhole depth. And then I find the midpoint of the armhole depth. So I'll just extend this line. This line is also referred to the chest line. This is not important, but we are following due protocol so you understand better. So find the armhole depth of your the midpoint of your armhole depth, sorry, and then you just curve it to the round bust measurement you just divided by 4. I hope you do understand. Now that this is done, we'll go straight to marking from the shoulder to the bust points. So just go ahead and mark it out. So for me, I have 10.75, so I'm marking it out. So you can see I'm almost doing the same thing I did at the front pattern. I'm doing it here also at the back pattern. So you can see it's very simple, it's very easy. So this is the bust point. Then next I mark out from the shoulder to the under bust. I'll go ahead and mark that out. So for me, I have 14.75. So if this is still looking all confused to you, like you do not know how we arrived at this measurement and all of that, don't worry. I have made a video on how to take the measurements and calculations you can use to get some of those measurements and all of that. I'll just drop the link on the description box so you go and watch that, then come back here and join us. So after doing this, I'll go ahead and mark out my waistline. So remember, if you're walking with a big tummy, after marking out the waistline, go ahead and measure from the shoulder to the navel and mark that out as well. You grab, so that will be your natural waistline. So invariably after this waistline, you should be having another line, which is the natural waistline before the hip line. And like I earlier explained, this is because you're making the underbust corset or waist cincher for a big tummy, and you know, for bigger tummies, their tummies are always fuller around the navel area. I hope you grabbed, yeah, around that area, around the abdomen. So that's just the whole explanation, and I hope you do understand. So I'm drawing my dart line, and this was the same process I did on my front pattern. So that's what I'm repeating here on the back pattern. So I'll just go ahead and extend the lines like this to get a straight line, and I'll go ahead and come out by 1/2 inch on the waistline. I'll come out by 1/2 inch on both sides of the dart line on the waist line. So I'll just go ahead and do that, and then I'll connect like so to get the triangles that are lying on top of each other. So you can see it's just an easy procedure, yeah. So this is it, guys. So I'll go ahead and connect downwards as well. So I'll go ahead and do that. So now that this is done, next is to divide my round body measurement by 4 and mark them out. So for the bust, we've already done that here. So at the underbust line, you divide your round underbust by 4 and mark it out. Then this dart intake here, you're going to put it back. For me, it's 0.65 inches, so I'll put it back here. Then on the waistline, you divide your round waist measurement by 4 and mark it out. So for me, I have 8.75. Then this dart intake, I have 1 inch here. So I'll go ahead and put that back here. Then on the hip top length, I'll go ahead and divide my round hip measurement by 4 and mark it out. So I'll go ahead and connect this together. So like I earlier stated, if you're working with someone with a big tummy, go ahead and also mark out exactly the same measurements that you have on your waistline on the natural waist. So that is just it. Now we'll go ahead and connect like so. So now I'll just go ahead and add my 2 inches for sewing allowance. So go ahead and add your sewing allowance. It can be 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect this. After connecting, the next step is to go ahead and cut out the pattern. So it's time to cut. And make sure you indicate your back pattern on your back pattern so you don't get it confused with the front pattern. So next you bring in your front pattern. Now what we're going to do now is, you see this dart line, this normal dart line, it's straight. So we're going to make it slanted. We're going to move it to a slanted position. So in doing that, you just bring in your roll and place it on your dart line on your bust point, and then you just slant it towards the center front like this. So you can see from that 4 inches that I marked at the bust point, I just slanted it down. So that's just a simple logic. So I'll go ahead and put a 1/2 inch on both sides of the waistline of the dart line. Then I'll go ahead and connect the triangles like this that are lying on top of each other. So this is our new dart line. So all we just did is we transferred the position. We moved the normal dart line from the straight position to a slanted position because of the kind of slanted bony channels that I want. So if you do not want your bony channel slanted, no problem, you can just leave it in the straight position. But since I want it slanted, that's why I had to do this. Next is to snatch the waist of this pattern by marking out another dart line. There is no rule to how you mark the second dart line. You can either just go ahead and mark out 4 or 3 inches from your first dart line, or you can just find the midpoint between your first dart line and your side front, and then you mark it out. So you can see that's just it. That's just a simple way you can go about that. So now that I've marked out the point I want my second dart line to start from, I'll just go ahead and slant it downward like this. So position your root well in a slanted position and go ahead and do that. If you do not want it in a slanted position, go ahead and just rule a straight line. So That is it. Now, next step is to determine how much you want to snatch your waist, which is the main ingredient of an underbust corset or a waist cincher corset. Now, if you intend on using the underbust corset for waist training, it is advisable that the highest you can snatch from your waist is 4 inches. Nothing more than 4 inches. That is the highest you can snatch from the pattern, from the underbust corset. So for me, I'm just going to snatch 3 inches. Yes, I want to also be comfortable even as I waist train. So what I will do now is that 3 inches, I am going to divide it into 2, and I'm going to put half of it at the front pattern and the other half at the back pattern. So since half of 3 inches is 1.5 inches, meaning I'm going to put 1.5 inches at the front pattern, and this 1.5 inches I am going to share it on both sides of this dart line. So meaning I have 0.75 inches on the right side and 0.75 on the other side on the waistline of the dart line. So invariably 0.75 plus 0.75 gives me 1.5, and that is what I am snatching from the front pattern. Then on the back pattern, I will also do the same thing. So 1.5 plus 1.5, that is 3 inches that I've removed from my actual waist measurement. If this sounds confusing, just let me know in the comment section and I'll try as much as possible to explain to you. So I'll just go ahead and connect upward like this, and I'll also go ahead and connect downward like this. So if you're snatching out 4 inches from your actual waist measurements, all you have to do is put 2 at the front and 2 at the back. So meaning you're snatching 2 from the front pattern and you're snatching 2 from the back pattern. So that is just it. Now it's time to give my underbust corset a nice shape at the top. So what I would do is I would just go ahead and place my rule like this and just draw out a nice style line or curve like this. And please make sure that the curve or the style line you're drawing is about 1 inch or 1.5, highest 1.5 inches high from your underbust line at the center front, so that it doesn't disturb your bust after you're done sewing the underbust corset. So it sits perfectly well underneath your breasts. So at the side of my side front, I'll come up by 1.5 inches. You can go up by 2 inches, it depends on you. Then I'll just curve this down to the top length to give me that nice basque effect that most underbust corset normally has at the down. So that's just it. So at this point, my underbust corset is ready to be cut out. So you can design any shape you want for your underbust corset, but for me, I am okay with this. So it's time to cut, and please watch closely the way I am cutting it. This is how we cut it out. Then you go ahead and cut out your dart line. Cut, cut, cut. So I hope you're able to understand this whole pattern drafting. Go ahead and label your pattern. Label it correctly so you don't get confused. Indicates the front, indicates the upward direction so you don't get confused when it comes to stitching it together. So now for the back pattern, there is no need of slanting your underbust line upward or drawing any curve upward. We're going to leave it like this. So we're going to go ahead and also slant. I'm going to go ahead and also slant the dart line. So I'm just going to slant it. So it's the same thing I did at the front pattern that I'm going to do here. So I'll also do this normal dart line here, which is 1/2 inch on both sides, and connect it as well. So I'll just mark 2 inches upward from the top length and connect as well. So this is my normal dart line, the normal dart line on your normal full basic body scale. So next is to draw out the snatching line, the snatching dart line. Let me name it that. So I'll go ahead and also slant it downward like this towards the center back. And then I'll go ahead and also mark 0.75 inch on both sides. So it's the same thing I did at the front pattern that I'm doing here on the back pattern. So invariably I have snatched out 1.5 inches from the back pattern, and I also did the same thing on the front pattern. So that way, if my actual waist measurement was 35, so since I've removed 3 inches from my waist measurements while drafting out the pattern, while snatching, so meaning I'll be having 32 inches when I put on my underbust corset. I hope you understand. So at the side back, I went up with 1.5 inches like so, and I am just going to curve it down to the top length to also get the basque effect, the basque shape at the back pattern. Yes. So now that this is done, to avoid bulging at your center back, all you have to do is you're going to come in with half an inch on your waistline like this, and then we're just going to connect like this upward to the half an inch that you came in with on your waistline, and also do the same thing downward like this. So that way there is no bulging at the back when you are drawing your lacing. I hope this makes sense. So now it's time to cut. Please watch closely the way I did the cutting. So you go ahead and cut. So on the underbust line, I'll just go ahead and cut like so. So there's no need going upward because this is a back pattern. But for the front, you need to curve it upward to give it that fine line. If you don't want the curve at the top, no problem, you can just leave it like this as well. Just leave it straight. So you go ahead and cut out the darts. Go ahead and cut it out like so. And also don't forget to cut out this part to avoid bulging at the center back. So now that this is done, you go ahead and label your pattern, indicate the center back piece, and also make sure you indicate the center front piece because these patterns can be quite confusing when it comes to putting them together, you get. So these are the patterns, and I'm going to use this to cut out the fabric and the line. And your highlights are going to be at this side of the center back. So make sure you indicate this as well. It's very important to indicate on your pattern paper. So this is it. I have cut out my fabric and lining. So remember, I said I'm using my Mikado silk as the fabric and lining so that my underbust corset will be very tough to withstand the test of time, right? So this is the center front. Yeah, this is the front piece 2, piece 3, and you can see the center front is not opened here, but the rest of the patterns are opened. Yes, the fabrics are open. I hope you understand. So this is the center back and all of that. So you can see I left half an inch at the dart section, dart lines. I left half an inch here for stitching the darts together. So you go ahead and leave half an inch on the darts area. So now we're going to start sewing them together. So you go ahead and open up your center front piece 1 and 2. So you set aside the main fabric and the one you're using for lining. So whatever you're doing to the main fabric is what you're doing to the lining as well. So go ahead and place them like this, and then we're going to go ahead and stitch, close it down. So you place the piece 2 on both sides. So this is it, and I'll go ahead and stitch down. You can use your office pin to hold it so you don't get confused. So this is it, guys. I have stitched it down. So this same thing I did here, I also did it on the other piece I am using as my lining. So you do exactly the same thing. What you're doing on the fabric is what you're doing on the other piece. So you bring in your piece 3 and you also open it up, and we'll go ahead and place it on both sides respectively like this. So remember, you're sewing on the wrong side of the fabric, so you go ahead and turn it over. So you close the darts. Go ahead and close up the darts as well. Go ahead and close up the darts as well. So make sure you carry out this same process on the other piece you're using as the lining as well. Once this is done, I'll bring in my back pattern. So this is my back pattern. It's time to also stitch it together. So I'll open up the piece 1, 2, which is the center back. I'll open up this piece as well, and open it up like this correctly. Then I'll bring in the piece 2 as well. And I'll also place it like this to close up the dart as well. So you make sure you close up the dart using the 1/2 inch that you cut out on the fabric. Hope you grab. So once I do that, I'll come back and show you guys. So guys, this is it. I have I have closed up the dart, as you can see. So make sure you indicate where your highlight is going to be on this back pattern, so you don't get confused. Please make sure you indicate, and make sure you indicate the upward aspect of the fabric. I hope you understand. Now you bring in your piece 3 as well. So use your chalk to indicate on the fabric. Your chalk, please, not your marker. So you bring in your piece 3 and you also place it like this. Place it like this as well. So go ahead and close up the darts by stitching on the wrong side of the fabric and using the 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So this is it. You can see the back pattern is almost ready. Now we'll bring in the front pattern, which I have ironed. As you can see, you open up the dart and you iron it. So what we'll do now is we're going to bring in this back pattern and place it like this. Place the sides together so that we'll close up the side seams. So you go ahead and use your 2 inches or 1.5 inches sewing allowance, whichever sewing allowance you gave to your underbust corset while you were drafting out the pattern. You use it to close up the side seams, or you can go ahead and measure it out. So do the same thing on the lining as well, the other piece. So as you can see, this is it, and make sure you iron during every process so that your work comes out neat and good. Yeah, baby. So this is it. You open them up and you iron. So you open it up and iron both the side seams. So now that this is done, I'm going to bring in the lining. So you can see they are the same thing, right? So that is just it. So right now I'm going to join the lining to the main fabric by closing up the center backs with 1/2 inch like this. I'll join them together by closing up their center backs together with 1/2 inch by stitching it together. So this is it, guys. So I have closed it up. I have joined the lining to the fabric, and you can see it now looks like they are one piece. So I can now decide which I would want to use as my right side or as the wrong side. So I'll go ahead and open this up and bring in the boning. So my next step is to sew my boning channels, and for that to be possible, I have to measure how wide my boning is. So you go ahead and measure how wide your boning is to be able to know how wide your channels are going to be. So after measuring, you can see I have 0.25 inch. So I'm just going to make my channels 1/2 inch wide, that is 0.5 inches, so that my boning can go through it conveniently. You get. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So this is me doing the stitching the channels. So this is it, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now that this is done, I'll also go ahead and sew another channel here. So I'll just go ahead and do that as well. And on each dart lines, I'll be stitching my channels, meaning I'll be sharing the 1/2 inch on both sides, meaning 0.525 inch space on the right side, 0.25 inch space on the left side. So the dart line will be in between. the channels, the bony channels. I hope you do understand. So this is what I was talking about. I'll just share the 1/2 inch on both sides of the dart line and stitch it to get my bony channels. So guys, once I have done that, I'll come and show you. So on each dart line, you go ahead and sew your bony channels, and on the middle also make sure you sew a bony channel on the middle. So make sure you measure your bony to be able to know how wide your bony channel should be, and when sewing your bony channel, make sure it's wide enough for your bony to pass through. So these are my channels, and I have 13 of them, 13 bony channels. That's what I have here, as you can see. So this is it. So next I'll bring in the boning, and I'll bring in my sellotape and use it to cover up this edge, so that once I put it in and once I'm putting on the underbust corset, the boning does not pierce my skin. So that's just the purpose. So I'll put it in like this, making sure the curved part is facing downward, and then making sure I left 1/2 inch at the top and at the down for sewing allowance, so that my needle can pass through. You grab, so you have to leave a space. So once I fill everything up off camera with my boning, I'll come back and show you guys. So this is it. You can see the way it's curved. So once I get to iron this with the steam iron, it's going to relax. If you do not have a steam iron, just sprinkle water on it and iron, it will relax. So next you bring in a long piece of fabric that is about 2 inches wide, and then you fold it like this and place it at this tip of the underbust corset, and use the 1/2 inch that you left to stitch it to the down. So this is it. So you can see I have stitched it. So I'll turn it over to the other side, and I'll go ahead. You can see the way I folded this part. I'll go ahead and fold it like this and stitch. So you fold it twice in like this and stitch. So that's just it. So you can see the side the same way I folded in 1 inch or 1/2 inch. So that's just it, guys. It's a very simple method. So the underbust corset is almost ready. Next you bring in a long piece of fabric that is about 2 inches wide and 3 yards long, and just fold it like this and stitch on the wrong side to get a long strip of fabric for the roping. Yeah, you can just go to the market and get a long ribbon that is about 3 yards. Yes, 3 yards. So this is it, guys. My underbust corset is ready. So I'm just going to use this rope temporarily to show you how to lace your fabric. So right now, unfortunately, I could not get eyelets to fix on this underbust corset. So I'm just going to drill a temporary hole through it. So I'm just going to show you. Go ahead and drill a temporary hole in between these two bony channels. So that's just it. So this is it, guys. This is it. So you go ahead and do that. You can get an eyelet and a rivet machine to do that, or you can go to the market, your tailoring shop, and they'll do it for you at a price. Yes, so that's just it. So I'll just drill a temporary hole, so through it like this, leaving 1 inch in between each holes. So this is it, guys. You can see what I did here. So this is just a temporary eyelet for now. Should I call it eyelet or hole? So when you're lacing, this is how you should lace. So this is why you need a very long rope that is about 3 yards long. It can even be 4 yards. Yes. So you just go ahead and lace it like this. Especially you use this method when you are the only one at home. There's nobody to help you with the lacing. So you just go ahead and lace it up like this. Please watch closely the way I'm lacing it. So this way, once you're done lacing it like this, you put it on, then you draw it at the middle. So just watch. So when you get to the middle point, you're going to pass your what is it called? You're going to pass the rope like this. Please watch. So you pass the rope like this. Once you get to the middle of your underbust corset, you get to the middle of it, the center of it, you pass it like this, and you continue your process like this. Continue the lacing like this. So this way, when you put it on, after lacing it, you can be able to drag it from the middle. That way it's easier for you to control. So you go ahead and tie it up here, and then when you're lacing it, just drag. So if you're using a ribbon, it's way more easier to do if you're using a ribbon. So that's why I advise you use a ribbon for your roping, but it all depends on you though. Then you go ahead and tie it up after putting it on. So this is it, guys. You can also loosen it up and just, open it wide open if you want to, take it out. So guys, this is it. If this video was helpful to you, and if you enjoyed this video, please do well to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. So guys, this is the underbust corset or the waist cincher corset. So you can see how beautiful it is looking. So if I decide to, lace this underbust corset up properly and tighten it well, my waist is going to be so super snatch. So this is it, guys. It's looking so beautiful. It's looking so beautiful. So see you on my next video. Love you guys. Mwah.